The advice every doctor gives you about protecting your aging brain, the crosswords, the puzzles, the staying active, might be the exact reason you feel like you're losing the race against time. Because while you're busy training your mind, your brain's physical walls are actually thinning. Listen, if you've noticed your memory isn't what it was, that tip-of-the-tongue frustration, the 3 p.m. mental fog, the way you walk into a room and stand there, you've probably been told it's just part of getting older. It isn't. Nobody talks about this, but there is a hidden connection between what seniors stopped eating 50 years ago and the wave of cognitive decline we now treat as inevitable. Your brain isn't failing, it's starving, and it has been telling you for years. And then a 2023 study published in Frontiers in Nutrition found that specific amino acids derived from bone connective tissue, specifically glycine, don't just support the body. They are one of the few substances capable of crossing the blood-brain barrier to reduce oxidative stress directly in the hippocampus, the region most associated with memory formation. That is not a supplement finding, that is a food finding. Meet Miriam, 67 years old, retired nurse, sharp woman, the kind who remembered every patient, every medication, every family detail. At 64, she started losing words. Not dramatically, just the word would be almost there and then gone. She'd reach for it and find air. Her neurologist ran every test. Nothing structural, nothing clinical. Normal aging, he said. Miriam didn't accept that. And 6 weeks after she changed one morning habit, one single thing, her daughter called her and said, "Mum, you sound like yourself again." We'll come back to what Miriam did. If you have tried the supplements, the brain games, the clean eating, and you still feel that heaviness behind your eyes by mid-afternoon, this is not a willpower problem. It is a structural mechanism problem, and that is what we are actually going to talk about. We live in a world that has sanitized our nutrition. The food industry decided decades ago that the good stuff, the bones, the marrow, the connective tissue, was waste. They sold us the muscle meat and discarded the parts of the animal our ancestors used to maintain their own cellular integrity for decades longer than we do now. They traded your long-term cognitive health for shelf-stable convenience. Your brain isn't just a collection of thoughts. It is a biological structure held together by the very proteins the modern world decided were waste. If you're tired of oversimplified health advice that treats getting older like a slow, inevitable decline, hit the like button. It tells the algorithm we need more science, not more slogans. 3 mechanisms. This is what the broth is actually doing inside your brain. The first is what researchers call blood-brain barrier reinforcement. Most people don't realize the brain floats inside a protective envelope. As we age, that envelope develops micro tears. Scientists call it leaky brain. When the barrier thins, toxins that should stay in your bloodstream leak into your neural tissue and trigger the one thing that accelerates cognitive aging faster than almost anything else. Inflammation. As the proline and glycine in a properly simmered bone broth are not just nutrients, they are structural bricks. They physically help reinforce the tight junctions of that barrier. Miriam didn't need more memory tricks, she needed to fix the leak. The second mechanism is the glutamate GABA balance. Your brain is often wired but tired because of a misfiring between glutamate, the accelerator, and GABA, the brake. Glycine, which makes up nearly a third of the protein in bone broth, acts as an inhibitory neurotransmitter. It is the biological off switch for the low-level neural noise that prevents deep, restorative sleep. And without deep sleep, your brain cannot flush the metabolic waste that compounds into cognitive decline over years. That tightness behind your eyes at 4 p.m. The way your thoughts loop when you are trying to fall asleep. That is the glutamate GABA imbalance running unchecked. Actually, stop what you're doing for a second. This next part is the piece everything else was building toward. The third mechanism is what I call the collagen BDNF bridge. BDNF, Brain-Derived Neurotrophic Factor. in the simplest terms, fertilizer for brain cells. It supports the formation of new neural connections, protects existing neurons from degeneration, and is one of the most studied mechanisms in cognitive longevity research. Andrew Huberman at Stanford has spoken extensively about BDNF as a central target for anyone serious about protecting brain function past 60. Here is what almost nobody talks about. Glycine, the dominant amino acid in properly made bone broth, directly upregulates BDNF production. Not supplements, not pharmaceuticals. So a food your grandmother made every week that we decided was too old-fashioned to keep in the kitchen. Before I go further, let me explain something. The inflammation cascade. Think of your immune system like a car alarm. In a healthy body, the alarm only goes off when someone tries to break in. But in leaky brain, the alarm is broken. It stays on 24 hours a day. The battery drains. The neighbourhood stops paying attention. Eventually, the alarm itself, the constant inflammation, becomes the problem, not the original threat. Bone broth doesn't just reduce inflammation. It helps recalibrate the alarm so your brain can finally rest. The reason this matters here is that you cannot out-supplement a structural problem. You cannot take a pill that rebuilds what the collagen matrix was doing before we removed it from the diet entirely. Save this video to your health resources or recipes folder. When you are at the grocery store or the butcher this week, you will want to come back to what we are about to cover. Now here is the part most people never hear, and this is the midpoint of the video for a reason, because what I am about to say reframes everything before it. The healthiest vegetable broths, the ones in the beautiful organic green cartons, often contain yeast extract or natural flavours listed in the ingredients. These are hidden sources of free-form glutamate. If you have a thinning blood-brain barrier, these broths can actually overexcite your neurons. More brain fog, not less. Miriam was drinking organic vegetable stock every evening. I was wondering why the dimming was getting worse. She was pouring accelerant on the exact mechanism she was trying to cool. I can already see the comment someone is typing right now. But what about collagen powder? Isn't that the same thing? I thought that too. What the research actually shows is that the intact gelatin structure in properly simmered broth behaves differently in the gut than hydrolyzed collagen. A 2019 paper from the British Journal of Nutrition found that intact gelatin significantly outperformed hydrolyzed collagen for intestinal permeability repair in adults over 60. The gut lining repair mechanism is not identical. The whole is doing something the parts cannot replicate. As always, if you are managing kidney disease or have been advised to monitor protein intake specifically, run this by your physician before changing anything. This is information, not a prescription. The mechanism is real. How it applies to your specific situation is a conversation for you and your doctor. I want to be honest about the strongest counter-argument here. Some researchers argue that glycine supplementation is more reliable than food sources because broth concentration varies based on preparation. That is a legitimate point. But what the supplement argument misses is that bone broth delivers a matrix: glycine, proline, hydroxyproline, glutamine, and the minerals that support gut lining integrity simultaneously. No single supplement replicates that. The BDNF upregulation, the barrier reinforcement, the glutamate balance. They happen together, or they happen less effectively. I still land where I land. But you should know where I'm standing. I don't know where you're watching this right now. Maybe it's late. Maybe you're supposed to be doing something else, but if you've made it this far, I think you already know this matters to you specifically. If you want to understand what is actually happening inside your body, not the comfortable version, the mechanistic one, subscribe. We go this deep every single week. The Morning Brain Reset Protocol. This is specifically designed for seniors. Not a general health recommendation, a targeted daily sequence that positions bone broth to do maximum cognitive work. To make it properly, you need what I call the 24-hour neuro simmer. Marrow bones and knuckle bones, highest collagen yield. 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar added before the heat goes on. Not for taste. I meant the acid leaches the minerals and collagen compounds into the water. 24 hours in a slow cooker on low. Never add bouillon cubes or flavour packets. They contain the exact excitotoxins that undo the mechanism. 1 cup consumed warm, within 30 minutes of waking, before any food or coffee. Why before coffee? Because caffeine before food raises cortisol. Chronically elevated cortisol in seniors directly suppresses BDNF production. You would be neutralizing the mechanism before it can activate. The broth before coffee, every morning for 30 days. Track one thing, how long it takes your brain to feel fully online after waking. Not energy, clarity. The moment the fog lifts. Miriam noticed that moment arriving earlier by week 3. Her daughter noticed it before she did. Then here is the watch-through reward. The one piece that changes how everything else compounds. Don't only drink it in the morning, drink a second cup 30 minutes before bed. The glycine does something at night that has nothing to do with the blood-brain barrier. It slightly lowers core body temperature. That specific thermal signal is what the brain needs to enter stage 4 deep sleep, the architecture where the glymphatic system activates, the brain's literal overnight dishwasher. The mechanism that flushes the metabolic waste products associated with cognitive decline while you sleep. The morning cup rebuilds the barrier. The evening cup activates the clearance system. They are 2 halves of the same protocol. Most people only ever hear about one. Think of the person in your life. I mean, you're a parent, a spouse, a friend in their 60s who is quietly worried about their memory and has been told everything looks fine. They don't need a reminder. They need a mechanism. Send this to them. So I almost wish I hadn't found this research, because once you understand how fragile that envelope is and how the modern diet has left it to slowly thin for decades, you cannot go back to believing a multivitamin is enough. You're stuck with the responsibility of your own cognitive integrity now, just like I am. The question I keep sitting with is this, of course. How many seniors spent a decade being told their brain fog was just aging, when the answer was sitting in a pot on their grandmother's stove? I don't have a clean answer to that. Now that you understand the blood-brain barrier and the BDNF mechanism, you need to understand what high cortisol mornings are doing to your gut lining overnight, because leaky brain always starts in leaky gut. And that connection is why the broth keeps having to work harder than it should for some people. That video is right here. Go to your local butcher tonight. Ask for marrow bones or knuckle bones. Start the simmer before you go to bed. Drink the first cup tomorrow morning before your coffee. Track your 3 p.m. clarity on day 8. You are not someone who is just getting older. You are someone who now understands a specific mechanism your doctor has never had time to explain, and exactly what to do about it starting tonight. Most people never get here. Well, what is the one health rule you followed for years? Avoiding animal fats, skipping bones, switching to the organic green carton, that you now wonder about? Drop it in the comments, because I think the pattern in those answers tells a much larger story about what we lost when we modernized the kitchen, and I want to see it.